Hello, everyone. My name is B, and today we're going to be talking about the semifinal of the Champions League, Arsenal versus Atletico Madrid. It was a little bit better than I expected, to be honest, just because I expected the absolute worst of a nil-nil draw. Instead, both teams scored, 1-1 draw, both penalties. Very interesting haram ball tactics, as one might say. But the thing that kind of points out to me as an Arsenal fan, it doesn't really look like every single person in that first half of the game on the Arsenal side really cared too much to give it their all. People that did were like Victor Goicoris. He was running every second he could, pressuring the defense, making runs, pressuring the goalkeeper, and even carrying the ball a little bit. Declan Rice, obviously, somebody who's more of a pace setter for the team, up there as well. But most of everyone else, like Martinelli, I really expected more from him. But in reality, Martinelli is not the best, winger in the world. He's not a Luis Diaz, a Michael Elise. Um, in that second half, they did really change, especially after that. What is it, like 70 minute mark? Everyone was giving it their all. Eze, when he came on, a brilliant player. I love to see him play, link up. Bakayo Saka was doing a little bit better today. I believe so, just because Madueke really did put on the effort for himself in that first half. He was one of the other players that I see really fighting for it. Victor Gokeres, Declan Rice, and Nani Madueke. But I was thinking in the first half that if they started Bakayo Saka over Madueke, we wouldn't have got that at least shot off. Because that, yes, that's something Saka does, but that's not something that Saka's been doing recently. So do feel like you should still be starting Madueke over Saka. Unfortunately, seeing the decline of a star is very sad. But like I said, he does look like he's getting better in the next um, when he gets back onto the pitch, appearing as a substitute. And like I said, it's probably just a good competition because he does perform a little bit better. I'm assuming because of what Nani Madueke had done in the first half, but everyone's a little bit different. You may never know with these players. Um, there was a penalty shout in the second half for Eze. He gets into the penalty box, and one of the Atletico Madrid defenders steps on him, and he dives. That may be a foul, that may not. I don't really like. I wouldn't cry about it. Like, I'm an Arsenal fan, and like, yes, I want to say that that's a penalty, but I don't think it deserved that reaction. Where what's happening is, these big games, the Champions League semifinal between a very good English side and a very good Spanish side, is deciding by penalties, like two penalties each. Victor Goicores, soft penalty. Um, the handball, like, that couldn't even been like a handball. That's what I'm disappointed about. These penalty calls are very soft. Um, it's it wasn't really haram ball today as one had predicted. It's more of like soft modern football with a bunch of foul and penalty calls. I guess that's where the point we are with Atletico Madrid and Arsenal, the level of these teams. It's, I guess, representative of what we see in the Premier League and La Liga. That it's, yeah, it's not horrible football, but the results are kind of a shame, just because, like, how competitive and kind of, I guess, making the gap seem more like it's a unpleasant competitiveness than what actually should be happening, like free flowing attacking football, like what we saw in the previous game, PSG versus Bayern. But that's just my critique of the situation. I low key get excited from this kind of result because I expected an Arsenal draw. I do also expect Arsenal to go to the Emirates and win maybe like a 1-0. That's what I expect from them. And if that does happen, then that would be, I guess, sufficient in my head, just because um, the top five players to play the most minutes this season are all Arsenal players. That's one thing Mikel Arteta hasn't gotten down is the squad rotation, and that leads to injuries. We get injuries on Hurrien Timber, on Eze, Odegaard, all these great players. Um, Obviously, they're not the best, like I said. Not to Martinelli because I feel like he could have done way more, and he used to be very good, but recently just out of form, I guess. But seeing Mikel Arteta going from trophyless last season to maybe still trophyless this season, but at least he makes it to the Champions League final, I would see that as improvement. Reason to give him one more season, maybe if you don't have no one else to take over, but if you have a better person to take over for Arteta, I would recommend it. And like I said, it's not entirely Mikel Arteta's fault, just because he hasn't really gotten down the squad rotation. You can't let that um, be a recurring factor for you that these players play so many minutes and leads to you getting so many injuries. Like this could be the explanation for Saka's fall off. Like he played so many minutes, so much pressure. We're all human bodies. Obviously, some might want it more than others, but at the end of the day, you are limited to the body you are in. So that's something to consider. Not making excuses for Arsenal. Like they still should have a trophy this season. Maybe the Premier League, maybe the Champions League. But me personally, with the level they've been playing at, something that's not appealing, something that's kind of shocking and, in my opinion, shameful from what you've gotten to accustomed to in the past couple years for Arsenal. That you expect them to win a trophy, but it's not like he isn't making slow improvements. If he does make it to the final, if he doesn't make it to the final and loses to Atletico Madrid at home, it'd be a little bit of a different story. Then you'd expect him to at least win the Premier League. I'm not saying that Atletico Madrid can't do it. Very great team. Diego Simeone has a good depth, in-depth squad, but we've beaten them before in this season, so we should beat them again. That's my way of looking at it. Like I said, though, not impossible for Atletico to take it to the Emirates and beat them. It'd just be very interesting. And what's most likely about to happen is whoever comes out of that semifinal of PSG Bayern will probably win the Champions League. So, would you rather have PSG going for um, what is it, two Champions Leagues in a row, Bayern getting another Champions League title, Um, and who knows? Maybe Atletico Madrid, Arsenal, whichever one goes to, maybe they do put up a fight. I'm not putting it completely past one of them to make it to the final and put up a good fight, just because we know what these teams are capable of. The final is only 90 minutes, so whatever happens in those 90 minutes, we can see upset, we can see some crazy tactics, some overthinking of the opposition, some nerves. It's going to be a great final. Just keep your eyes on these fixtures. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you would like to see and what you expect from every team. Maybe this is a game that you feel like went better than you expected or went worse than you expected. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Um, that is all for me today. Adios.